Cassava Sciences Simufilam performance in open-label study versus Anavex Sciences Blarcamesine in Phase 2b/3. Conceptually, the performance of a drug in the dosed cohort is a sum of its therapeutic effect and the natural progression of the disease. That is why to fully evaluate a drug, the presence of a placebo arm with the same demographics is a necessity. Anavex Life Sciences drug Blarcamesine therapeutic effect is visible by increasing the number of patients improving their cognitive scores over those in placebo arm by 84%. I have analyzed these results in a previous video. See the description for reference. 1. Cassava's Simufilam claims to improve the cognitive performance of 47% of patients, but the study has no placebo arm to compare to. I work under the perception that in the trials for Alzheimer's disease there is always a number of patients who score better than on their baseline cognition performance. Within 3 years the number dwindles to 0. Reference 3. These spontaneous improvements create the background noise from which the therapeutic effect has to emerge. The absence of placebo arm in case of Simufilam can be to some extent substituted in our analysis by turning to the data collated by the Alzheimer's Disease Neuroimaging Initiative. The Alzheimer's Disease Neuroimaging Initiative has collected data from placebo arms of various trials. The data included brain imaging, various biomarkers and demographics. The study collated data from 200 normal controls, 400 people with mild cognitive impairment and 200 Alzheimer's patients. Their ages ranged from 55 to 90 years, and the Alzheimer's patients were followed for 2 years with the rest followed for 1 more year. A group of scientists at Pfizer has analyzed the data for the most significant factors affecting the rate of decline of patients. Here is the title of the paper, link in the description. Reference 2. The analysis pointed to 4 factors as the ones with the greatest magnitude in influencing the decline of patients in placebo arm. The baseline severity was measured in ADAS-Cog, probably meaning ADAS-Cog 13, and with decreasing scores the decline decrease in general. The less severe is your condition, the slower is the rate of disease progression. The age of patients varied inversely with annual decline. Intuitively, patients who succumb to Alzheimer's early have a more severe form of the disease. Carriers of the allele 4 decline 22% faster than non-carriers. Finally, women decline 10% faster than men. Let us keep these results in the back of our minds and methodically start looking at the recruitment protocols of both drugs. Looking at clinicaltrial.gov in CT04388254, Simufilam, for the inclusion criteria. Greater or equal to 16 mmSE2 or less or equal to 26 mmSE2 points, with positive PET scan for those over 26. Looking at clinicaltrial.gov in CT03790709, Blarcamesine, for the inclusion criteria. Many mental state examination, MMSE, score between 20 to 28 inclusive, and historical record of amyloid assessment either by cerebral spinal fluid or PET scan. We have to dismiss the target MMSE scores ranges as relevant. The only information on the demographics of the cohorts is given by listing their means and standard deviations. These are the final results of the recruitment process. Anavex Life Sciences has scanned all patients for amyloid plaque. Amyloid plaque is the only FDA-approved biomarker of Alzheimer's disease. Cassava's patients might include those with other forms of dementia. First, let us examine the inconsistencies in Blarcamesine's data. Anavex lists all data as ADAS-Cog, but it is not explicitly ADAS-Cog 11. As matter of fact, it is ADAS-Cog 13, with range from 85, healthy, points to 0, versus ADAS-Cog 11 with range from 70 points to 0. As the baseline severity, Anavex lists MMSE equals 23.57 plus /2.92 and ADAS-Cog 13 equals 28.75 plus /8.67. Now, it is time for Cassava's Simufilam. Simufilam's baseline severity is listed as 19.1 plus /9.2 ADAS-Cog 11 and MMSE equals 21.5 plus /3.6. If we crudely convert ADAS-Cog11 score of 19.1 on our chart, then we get MMSE equals 24, that is difference of about 2.5 points toward less severe baseline condition. In case of Simufilam, the ADAS-Cog11 numbers suggest earlier stages of Alzheimer's, but the declared MMSE mean score suggests greater admixture of moderate Alzheimer's patients. The above paper lists all data as ADAS-Cog, whereas Blarcamesine has been given in ADAS-Cog13. I will use only data expressed in ADAS-Cog13. We also assume the paper data is given in ADAS-Cog13, 85-point scale versus 70-point scale. In general, the ADAS-Cog13 is more sensitive to those in mild cognitive impairment and mild Alzheimer's. The purpose of this video is to compare the performance of both drugs. In this case, we need to have a synthetic placebo arm for Simufilam. For that purpose, we need to convert the ADAS-Cog11 to ADAS-Cog13 by multiplying ADAS-Cog11 by 1.21. The score of 19.1 given in ADAS-Cog11 become approximately 23.2 in ADAS-Cog13. I suggest downloading the paper and checking the Table 3 on page 156. The Table 3 lists the annual decline for different combinations of baseline severity in both ADAS-Cog and MMSE, and age. The data in the table can only be used to get insight in the disparity between the eventual decline rates for both drugs. These are not absolute values but relative. I can safely assume that the lower the annual decline rate, the greater number of patients who can score above their initial cognition level in the expected placebo arm. This creates the background noise from which the efficacy of an Alzheimer's drug can emerge. The drug should increase the odds of scoring above initial cognition level to number greater than 1. The table data does not clearly corresponds to the data combinations given by the patient's conditions in both cases. We need to make some compromises. The closest combination of baseline severity and age, for Simufilam is ADAS-Cog 20, MMSE 22 and age 70. The listed annual decline is 5.47 ADAS-Cog. For Blarcamesine, the combination is ADAS-Cog 25, MMSE 19 and age 75 with a decline of 7.25. This very imperfect comparison suggests that the spontaneous improvement in potential placebo arm of Simufilam might be larger than in the placebo arm of Blarcamesine, making the odds ratio for Simufilam lesser than the one expected from the open-label data. In my previous video on Anavex phase 2b/3 I used the reference 3 to set the number of spontaneous improvements in placebo arm at 29%. Making things linear, which I doubt is the case, the Simufilam decline rate is 75% of Blarcamesine. This makes the hypothetical 38% spontaneous improved patients in Simufilam synthetic placebo. The implication is that Simufilam's odds ratio for improvement over placebo can be as low as 1.23 versus Blarcamesine's 1.84.